Hello, welcome to another video. So today we are going to be going over patch 1.7. I'm going to consider it even though it's not officially named. We're going to be going over patch 1.7 that just released a couple of hours ago. Um, as far as content is concerned in this patch, there doesn't appear to be a lot compared to the prior two patches, a lot more skins. There's only two new combatants to really look at here. And there's not really a combat event either. So we're just going to briefly go over the combatants, going to do a, should you pull on those new combatants, and then we're going to kind of go over, um, the overall contents of this patch. So, first of all, the new combatants, right? There are two of them. We have the new Valentine's Day themed Evelina. She is currently available on limited banner, so you can pull for her with red pathites. And then we have Rafaela, who is currently available in the battle pass. Um, so let's just quickly go over both of these units. Well, before we go over both of these units and assess the value of should you pull, you should be considering two things, right? The first thing is we're getting close to half anniversary. The game released globally on August 21st. 6 months from then would be February 21st. As of the recording, it is currently February 12th. So in about a week or two, they could start incorporating what they did on other servers, which is the half anniversary banner, where you're able to pull for pretty much any prior limited character besides vanilla Chicola, just because they were collab units, right? Also, another thing to consider in the combatant gallery as of this patch, Minotara is currently here. We will go over Minotara in greater detail once she actually releases. I'm able to test her and give my official should you pull analysis on her, but generally Minotara is considered to be a very, very strong single target DPS. Um, so she is definitely a character that a lot of people are saving for / pulling for. So this is definitely something that, so in combination with the half anniversary banner that's coming, as well as Minotara coming soon, probably in 2 weeks if I were to guess, um, you really want to be careful um, with how you're spending your pulls right now. Hopefully these units that are currently on rate up aren't broken, so that you are stuck with making, a decision. Now, fortunately enough, the characters that are currently running, I would say, are not broken. Oh yes, and in addition to Evelina and Rafaela, I will do a quick glance on. There's a rerun currently. This is the first ever actual event banner rerun in the game. You were able to obtain prior limiteds before through top-up milestone events, the T-Break event, and the Luminox shop. Rest in peace. But we haven't had an actual rerun banner, right? So Dorothy, she was the first event summon in the game besides the Shiro newcomer summon that everybody gets, right? So it's cool to see her back. Since Dorothy's already in the game, and I don't really have to go over her kit, we can touch over her briefly. So Dorothy, as you know, is the core of curse teams, right? She can apply curse on both. Well, she can apply curse on one of her skills, both of them, if you have her at 1 star. And then her 6-star effect enables her to detonate all curses and deal a bunch of damage, right? She is the core DPS of curse teams currently. Now, at this point in time, what I say, should you pull Dorothy? Generally, the consensus is probably not. The problem with Curse teams, Curse before, I mean, it wasn't really the premier AoE option for Red. It was the only AoE option. The only problem with Curse right now is Jinque's in the game. And Jinque is just the most absurd, broken DPS that we've had in the game for a while. Like there's literally no reason to play another Red team in AoE content if you have Jinque, right? And like I said in my previous should you pull, definitely one that was worth pulling for, right? She might make a reappearance in the Crown Banner, but it's not guaranteed. But of course, when we do get the Crown Banner right, I'll make a separate video covering that, so not a problem. Um, Now, if you are pulling for Dorothy, well, what star up effects are good? I would say generally your best breakpoints are going to be her 1 star because, again, that causes her single target card to be able to apply curse. This makes her curse generation a lot better and a lot more consistent. Um, Everything else is kind of whatever. If you were to go higher than 1 star, I would just go to 6, right? Um, or well, I mean, at 5 stars, the curse is no longer shortened on her ult, but I mean, I would just go all the way, right? It's either 1 or 6. She's also perfectly fine at 0, but again, I just feel like curse in general has been power crept out of the game. But hey, if you want to pull her to get this skin, I'm not going to blame you. All right, this skin is gorgeous. All right, anyways, quick touch up on Dorothy there. So let's go over our new characters. So first of all, we have Evelina. Um, she is current rate up, the only rate up currently besides the rerun, right? She is a blue pathos single target DPS. Now, this is something that doesn't really exist in the game too much right now. Pretty much your best options for single target are Submarine Shiro, who's standard banner and honestly not that great, and then Chikola, who you can't get anymore. She was an Echo Para collaboration unit that released close to the launch of the game. If you didn't get her, you can't get her anymore. There's going to be no reruns of that banner. She's just gone, right? So realistically, if you're like a newer player, your only option is a standard banner character. So right away, I was pretty optimistic about this character because, it's a role that's not really saturated in this game right now, and she looked like she had somewhat of a promising kid. But I did play her in Nightmare's Call. I did play her in the training hub a little bit just to kind of test her mechanics a bit. So I will say, again, I love giving summaries because I know people don't want to watch a 30-40 minute video. Should you pull Evelina? Probably not, unless you really, really, really want a single target DPS. For blue, I probably wouldn't pull her. So let's go over her kit, and then I'll kind of explain why. So her passive reads like a dissertation, but essentially what it does is for each blue on your team, she gains crit damage. Um, when a card levels up, like so if a 1 star card goes to a 2 star card or a 2 star card goes to a 3 star card, right? Once per turn, one of her 1 star cards will upgrade to a 2 star card. For reference, Vanilla's 1 star effect and Viola's 1 star effect count towards this trigger, right? And then when she uses a basic skill, she gains sandwich biscuits equal to the star level of the card activated. So a 1 star card will give you 1, a 2 star card will give you 2, a 3 star card will give you 3, right? And it stacks up to 8 times. Pretty much all this does is boost the damage of your ultimate, right? And you're going to see leveling up cards being a huge theme for this character, right? So we have our skill 1 here. Deal 120% attack as damage to one enemy, increases this combatant's attack by 15% per 2 turns. It's not a great card, right? You do typeless damage, attack buffs are kind of whatever. I mean, the motion value is high, at least 120%. That's pretty good. But both of her basic cards do gain additional effects when upgraded. So her 2 star card, unfortunately, it doesn't increase the damage. It's still 120%. The only difference is that it buffs her attack by 35% instead of 15%, which I guess is better. But with this card, the real payoff is when you 3-star it, because then that 120% is no longer typeless. It is sunder damage. Sunder damage is very good. And then again, she increases her attack by 35%, but it's going to be for 3 turns instead of 2 turns, right? So this card is kind of whatever. You really want to try to get it to 3 stars, and you're going to kind of see this as being a theme in Evelina's kit. You're just kind of questing to get her cards up to 3 stars, and you're kind of building around that. There's a lot of setup involved with her teams. But anyways, let's continue. So her skill 2, again, just typeless damage. You read this card, you're like, what the heck? That's it? That's all it does? It has less motion value than the other one. Why is this even a card? Well, when you upgrade it, It deals 120% attack as damage instead of 102, so it does increase the damage. And also, it gives her a self-damage dealt buff by 10% for 2 turns, and on the buff bar, this does read as a final damage increase, so it is a very good self-buff to have. So basically, she gives herself 10% final damage increase, and then if you get it to 3 stars, we get 150%. You increase your final damage by 25%, and it stuns the enemy, which means that they are unable to act and they are unable to have any effects dispelled off of them, right? So they are pretty much locked down for 1 turn. The stun can situationally be good. You mostly want a 3-star to get that huge 25% final damage increase. And again, the other card we want a 3-star because it deals thunder damage at 3 stars. It's very good to 3-star her cards. And then we have her ultimate. Consume all of her sandwich biscuits. She deals 183% as center damage, up to 261 depending on star level. This is going to be lower than this is going to be lower than like Asura Ultimate, for example. But the main thing here is the sandwich biscuits increase the base damage of the skill by 5%. So this motion value right here goes up by 5% for each biscuit that you have, up to 40%, right? Because you can have up to 8 biscuits. So, in summary, her kit is, very reliant around star up effects and about starring up her cards rather, and getting big payoffs by using 3-star versions of these cards, right? And then obviously using her ultimate to unload those sandwich biscuits and deal a bunch of damage. So, what do her star up effects do? So her 1-star, at the beginning of each turn, one random skill card of this combatant in the deck is upgraded by 1-star. Obviously, this is massive, right? Again, Evelina is kind of a quest type character. You're trying to get her basic cards up to 3 stars before unleashing them. This expedites that very, very well. Her 4-star effects, after she applies a star level boost, she gains 100 crit damage for her next offensive skill. So now, card sequencing is going to be more important, right? Because you want to make sure that you're getting 100 crit damage on the right card. And B, you want to make sure that you're getting. And B, this also works with her 1-star effect. So pretty much, as long as you have a basic card in your deck of Evelina's, right? At the start of each turn, her first card will deal 100% extra crit damage. Pretty good. And then 6-star is just kind of a luxury. Each sandwich biscuit increases the base damage of her ult by 10 instead of 5%. Right? But yeah. So obviously very setup reliant. As far as how to build her, right? Equipment, you're just, I mean, she's a Sunder character, right? You're just going to want crit rate, crit damage. Now, her teams do grant her a lot of crit rates, so you're not going to need too much crit damage. Too much crit rate. You're going to need more crit damage. So I definitely recommend getting a 6-piece crit damage set and then going from there. We'll kind of go over the teams after I go over the other unit that's kind of bundled with her as well. But ultimately, when I played this character, I mean, and full disclaimer, right? There's a couple of disclaimers here with my testing. First of all, Evelina comps, I thought they were going to be brain dead. They're not. They are. They're the rotations, the sequencing. That's actually quite difficult. Evelina is a very difficult character to use. There's a lot of objectives that you're trying to fulfill on her team comp. You're trying to star up her cards. You're trying to sequence her cards properly so she makes the most out of her buffs and her 4-star effect. It's not an easy comp to play, and this is my first time like actually playing that team. So my results could be, lowballed a bit as a result, just as a disclaimer, right? Another thing, uh, Nightmare's Call is bugged. So the boss here on the half that Evelina is favored is White Pathos. And again, I'm thinking that's because we're getting Minotaur in 2 weeks. They are going to prepare a White Pathos half in that next iteration of the Nightmare's Call, but they pushed the white boss out early. Um, even says blue pathos suggested, right? So definitely bugged for sure, 100%, right? Um, so yeah, obviously attacking a white pathos enemy compared to attacking a blue pathos enemy, night and day. But also, right, in that Nightmare's Call, she's getting an event buff. In fact, she's getting two because she's also running Rafaela. So you could argue that those almost cancel each other out, right? All things considered, well, for all the setup and time they have to put into her, and like, learning her rotations and getting the setup proper and everything like that, the payoff wasn't as good, right? Like, she's like, her ultimate is dealing like 1 mil, right? I'm used to seeing ults that deal way more with Black Tea, Asura, Shiro. Her Sunder card does decent damage, but again, you really have to build up a payoff around that. She does remind me a lot of the other blue single target DPSs like Submarine Shiro and Chukola, because they both kind of set up around a large payoff. I do think that when Evelina gets a payoff, she definitely has the strongest payoff. I mean, maybe Chukola surpasses her with Rafaela, but I kind of doubt it. Um, Evelina, I mean, her damage was a little underwhelming compared to other single target DPSs of other Pathos colors, right? I think within the same Pathos color, I think she just barely beats the other two. But again, with Minotara coming, do you really want to pull for an okay, like arguably Submarine Shiro side grade single target DPS for blue? Probably not. Probably not. But if you do decide to pull for her, I would definitely recommend pretty much whatever star up breakpoint you can get, right? Light Spenders, I would definitely look to get that 1 star. Dolphins, I would definitely look to get that 4 star. If you're a whale, you're gonna 6 star her anyways. Her 6 star is okay. It's like a 15% increase on her ult, I think. It's nothing crazy. They've kind of been really well. I was about to say they've kind of been releasing 6 star effects that are underwhelming, but Jinque's 6 star exists, so that's not really true either. Okay, but yeah, that's pretty much my opinions of Evelina. So now we have Rafaela. She's a battle pass character. Her kit is very tailored around Evelina, right? Very much seems to be the case. So first of all, her passive, right? She increases the crit res of all allies of Blue Pathos. This is mostly a useless passive, right? It does interact with her kit, but other than that, it's pretty much useless. So we have her skill 1 here. She deals typeless damage to all enemies, applies, and it only increases the damage on star up, right? It doesn't actually increase the buff. Which is the main part of the card. So she applies Benediction to all allies for 3 turns. This is important because other buffers last 2 turns typically, like Viola and Felicia, so you get a bit of wiggle room on the activation here. Um, so yeah, you get that crit rate boost based on 50% of her crit res, right? That caps at 15%. So you want her to be at 30% crit res, which means you're going to need to build some form of crit res on her. You don't have to go full crit res, but you are going to have to build some crit res subs to that 30% crit res breakpoint on her, right? And then, yeah, she buffs crit rate. And it's a damage card. So, cool. Skill 2 literally does nothing. It is a typeless single target damage. This card literally does nothing. Cool. Awesome. Ultimate. This is the main feature of her kit. She deals damage. She pretty much devours all of her cards from the deck up to 4, and then that amount plus 1, she will upgrade that many cards in your deck by 1 star. So quite good for setting up Evelina, right? Um, and could be quite good for setting up Chicola, right? Um, So she's a battle pass character, obviously. So I mean, her star up effects are going to be 1-3-5, right? 1 star is huge. Start of battles, gain 2 SP. You get to your ultimate quicker. 3 stars when using her ult. She heals 15% max HP for each skill card discarded. This is a fat heal, but remember it's tied to her ultimate. 5 stars when using her ult. For if she if she discards at least 1 skill card, she gains 1 SP. If more than 2 skill cards are discarded, she gains 2 SP. Right? So you get an SP refund. It's very nice to have. A should you pull for a battle pass unit is difficult because I always consider the battle pass to be valuable, right? Because of the contents of the battle pass as opposed to the combatant that's in there. But if you were to ask me, what the, how good is she to obtain? Like, should I, spend advanced cores to get dupes of this character? I will say for a battle pass character, she's very middle of the road. She's not going to be as good as Felicia or Viola, but she's not as useless as Selena, the red one, right? If you do plan on playing an Evelina or a Tricola team, I do think she could be quite useful, especially in clan campaign. Um, the thing is, with her 1 star effect, it is very easy to get to her first ultimate, but it's very painful to get to any ultimates past that, because then you have to activate more of her cards, and you do not want to activate this because it's useless. It's a waste of tempo. And then this, you only need to activate every 3 turns. So I think in longer content, like 10 turn, 12 turn content, Rafaela actually falls off quite a bit. I do think in clan battle she's perfect because you can just kind of aim to get that one Rafaela ult off and then go for a huge setup play with Evelina or Chicola, right? So if you play either of those, definitely recommend getting her star ups. Otherwise, you don't really need to. Of course, since she's a battle pass unit, she's also obtainable from standard banners, so you might just get her 1 star on accident. All right. Um, and then as far as equipment, I just go crit rate, right? You can go support set if you want, but her heal's tied to her ultimate. You're only gonna ult once, maybe twice. I don't find it to be generally worth it. Uh, just for substats, again, just make sure you have enough crit res for her buff, right? Other than that, I would just go crit, just to help her personal damage out as much as you can, right? Might as well. Um, as far as team compositions go, right? For these new characters for Rafaela for Evelina. So the standard Evelina team is going to be Evelina, Rafaela. Um, this slot it can be either vanilla or Viola, in my opinion. They're both quite good here, right? Um, so they both have the 1 star effect that triggers Evelina's passive, right? And then they both funnel cards into the deck for Evelina, which you're going to want because you're going to want to funnel cards, use them to combine, or just have them star up in other ways. Um, and then of course they both buff Evelina. I do think Viola is slightly better than Vanilla here, but if you need Viola for the other half, Vanilla works. Fourth slot can be a number of things. For general sustain option, you are going to be using Lyn. Um, Definitely recommend getting her to like 3 or 5 stars if you are able to, just because her popularity bonus synergizes quite well. It funnels Evelina 2-star cards and increases luck, which means you're getting more 2-star cards that way as well. Um, and then Evelina is activating high star value cards, which means you are proccing popularity bonus a lot, which means you have very big shields and you are hard to kill. If you're playing like clan campaign and you don't need a sustain, at that point, I would say your best option is probably going to be Cacao, just for vulnerability uptime. It's really going to help Evelina deal more damage. Um, I would say a sub DPS would be great with this team, especially while you're setting up with Evelina. The only problem is we don't have a great sub DPS for blue, right? It's just not happening. Um, Unfortunately. Um, Another team that you can play with Rafaela is going to be um, Okay, I am just looking for that dastardly. Yeah, so if you play like I think another team where she could shine potentially is vanilla Chocola teams, because again she can allow you to start up your cards, especially if you have a startup Chocola and vanilla unlike mine. You could potentially pursue an additional 3-star Eat Properly nuke, right? Fourth slot in this team, again, it's going to be Lynn if you need sustain, or Cacao if you're in clan battle, uh, and you need that. Now, you could try to run Chocola and Evelina on the same team, in clan battle specifically, right? Because you're not going to have enough sustain otherwise. Although I don't know how this team comp would work out hypothetically, just because I don't know how your card economy is going to look with having both Chocola and Evelina. I will say they both really like to hold their cards while you're setting up, so it may actually be a combination that works. There are no specific Katos that we're looking to run here. You can just run the standard active and passive Katos that you usually run. But other than that, those are going to be the team comps that you're looking at with those new characters. So now let's kind of briefly touch up on the other contents of this patch, right? So we have a couple of new events here. The main event is just a story event. So you go to the event shop, you do the story, you do the missions, and then you get free stuff. There's no event boss here, so nothing to really worry about in that regard. We do have Cato Emporium. This event sucks. The rewards are terrible. I wouldn't worry too much about it. We do have a 7-day login event, which gives standard pulls, raid tickets, gifts, and limited temp pull at the end. So nice free rewards, right? Important event here is tips o'clock. If you are hoarding quick sells, use them now because it is tips o'clock. This event is only going to last for a week, so you got to dump those tips this week. You get double. You do not get increased tips. You only get double Kato coins, but still, you really want to be able to start hoarding those Kato coins, right? Very good to do so. Um, in addition, we have a lot of new skins. So we have a new fashion show. You might be familiar with this event the from the Christmas event, right? Basically, what you're looking at here is 3 new Valentine's Day skins. You can buy pulls with Irithist, pull on the banner for skins. You have your rates right here. You're guaranteed to get one of the skins in each multi, and then and if you get a skin that you already own, you get these fashion show points, which you can use to exchange for one of the skins, right? And then we have a new UR skin for Dorothy. This skin is like the Afro skin, so it is going to be quite expensive if you look to pursue it. And then we have the Glamour Galore, right, for the Yunkin and Yunpei skins. These characters don't see too much play anymore, but if you like them, I mean, obviously you can go for it, right? Other than that, they did sneak choice packs into the shop. Um, so essentially, you have these are insane value, by the way. So basically, there's different tiers of Irithist, right? And then you get one for free. And then you pick your rewards, right? And then you can buy it. What I would recommend that you pick is the options that I have below, primarily because refinement locks, raid tickets, they're hard to get. And then obviously limited pulls. The 1281 didn't have anything great, so I just picked chips. It just saves me stamina in the long run, and I had to level up 2 characters, and I was running out of chips, so I just decided to get it. Right? It's not great, but I mean there was nothing better, and also 300 quick sells. Tips o'clock goes crazy. Um, Let me see, and then the only other thing of note of this patch is the training hub. It was 600 floors before. It is now 750, right? So there are 750 floors to get through on this tower. That's great. The mine zones have gone from 200 to 250, so you can get more standard pulls. If you're a spender, you can get more of those limited bundles from Scamcita, right? Um, just be very careful with your resources right now because, again, they are going to drop Minotaurus soon. They are going to drop Half Anniversary soon. When that content comes around, of course, I'll be making content on it, making videos just to kind of advise what you should be spending your resources on, as well as covering any events that may come at that time. But again, thank you so much for watching the video. Please like and leave a comment if you like what you see.